All right, testing 1, 2, 3. Sorry, a little bit late start. Is anybody out there? Hopefully somebody's out there by now. And we will get going as soon as we can. Somebody tell me you can hear me and we'll be very happy. Happy, happy, happy. Whoops, that's an old thing. Where is the? All right, hello, anybody? Nobody can hear me? Oh, yay, okay, hi guys. All right, let's see. Let's kill that and that and that. All right, and we'll do the video thingy. I think, yes, we will. Camera, screen. All right, tell me when you can see the screen and we can get this show on the road. All right, hopefully somebody can see the screen at some point. And we are ready to roll. Look at this rally, holy cow. Things are looking good. Nobody can see the screen? I think by now somebody could. Come on, guys. Look at that. Gasoline is under $3. That should be under $4 at the pump. You really shouldn't pay more than $4 if you're buying gas right now. Natural gas is still pretty high. Did I do something wrong? Can nobody see this? Oh, thank you, Corey. Geez, I was starting to wonder what the hell is happening. All right, so let's get this show on the road. Access to this webinar, blah blah, because the computer had to reboot to update Windows, and it didn't save the thing, and because we changed the website, I don't know where the hell it is. So please see the disclaimer that we have at the beginning of our other videos, and I will fix it next week. But before you go, you must access that disclaimer in order to view the rest of this thing. That's a very important point. So, where's our other webinars? At PhilStockWorld's YouTube thing. So, here, let's point. I could be clever and point to that. Let's see. That would be fun. Let's see if I can figure that out. Well, there's 2 go to webinars. That's not good. And we're already in this session, so that's okay. Let me see if I can figure that out. There's something about cannabis for whatever reason. All right, so if you want to see the old webinars, you go to YouTube. Oh, and then you search for PhilStockWorld. And we have our own whole channel. See, PhilStockWorld, latest from PhilStockWorld. Live weekly webinar. 6 days ago, no views. Oh, that's probably because Andy didn't post it and tell anybody where it is. So nobody went. See, this is the thing. Nobody went to find it on their own. But all you have to do is go to YouTube and put in PhilStockWorld. So Andy didn't put it in the chat, and it's sitting there, so nobody watched it. But theoretically, premiere will begin shortly. Oh, he didn't process. Something's all right. Let him do whatever he's supposed to do. I'm not gonna mess around with it. Now I want to get to here. There it is. See, this is the this is the screen with all the webinar stuff. I'm not going to bother playing it for you now, but you guys can go and read it at this site. So let's see if I can do this. Can I put it in the chat? Send privately, send to all. Send to all. See, there's our there's our webinar with the disclaimer in it. Anyway, all right, so that's enough of that. So where are we? On to more productive things. Yeah, so you know, Pelosi didn't get murdered, and everybody's happy. Or basically, I think a lot of people would have been happy if she did get shot down. But basically, what we're happy about is that China didn't really do anything. They did stuff because they kind of had to. You know, it's like when Trump talks tough and says, "Oh, I'm gonna do something to China, blah blah blah," and then he like ends up making like a tariff on something they don't care about. That's what China's doing right now. Also, they're doing some tariffs on Taiwan, which is really unfair to Taiwan because they didn't do anything. Well, if somebody wanted to come visit them, they're not going to say no. You know, ooh, that'll make China mad. We can't do anything. We can't run our own government. But that's, you know, that's the situation over there. I mean, China basically. China's case is that Taiwan is part of China, which is the same as Russia's case that the Ukraine is part of Russia. That's why it used to be called the Ukraine. It was part of Russia. It wasn't its own thing. Now it's called Ukraine. They got their own country. Well, they don't call it the Siberia. We call it the West, though. We call our parts the West, the South, whatever. You know, if I was Putin, I would just get on the stand at the UN and I would play Back in the USSR by the Beatles, which specifically says Ukraine girls really knock me out. So proof positive that Ukraine is part of Russia by no lesser authority than John, Paul, George, and Ringo. Anyway, that would be how I would run Russia. This is probably why they don't put me in charge. Where are we? So anyway, so everything's blasting back up, but we're not higher. We're just back to where we were before people started freaking out about silly things like this. You know, there's always something to freak out about. You just have to decide whether it's realistic or not, or how long it's going to last. Now, look at oil. Oil got really smacked down. That's a good thing to start on right now. Let's take a look at what happened to poor oil. Down to 91.21, and gasoline is under $3, which is a good thing. Gold calmed down, silver calmed down, the dollar is still strong. You can't stop people from running to those dollars. So what did I say we were going to do? Oh yeah, petroleum. My daughters just left yesterday, so and that's after 2 weeks. So I am just getting my shit back together. So you have to excuse me. It's very, very disruptive to my life now, and I get used to them not being around. And all of a sudden they're here, and suddenly I'm like going out every single day, and doing activities and so on and so forth. And every night we're watching movies, and it's not my lifestyle anymore. I don't, but you know what it is, because it's my daughter. You don't want to miss a thing. So it's not like I want to go to bed if they're out watching movies in the living room. I want to hang out. You know, it's such a pleasure, but God, it's exhausting. So this is back to normal now, though. Back to my nice dull life where I get to relax a little bit. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. All right. So hopefully this is the right one. This is from July 29th, and it is only August 3rd, so it looks like we're in good shape. So here you go. U.S. commercial crude inventories increased 4.5 million barrels from the previous week. The crude oil inventories are 7% below the 5-year average, Total gasoline inventories increased by 0.2 million barrels last week, and they are only 3% below the 5-year average. That is not a big deal. Oil is a bit of a big deal. 7% is a lot below the average, but gasoline inventories are 3% below the average. That's not, that's standard deviation. That's not really something to worry about. Both finished gasoline inventories, blah, blah, blah. Distillate fuels decreased by 2.4 million barrels and are 25% below the average. That's a big deal. And coming into, it's a peak season for jet fuel, of course, so that drags a lot of it down. But that's a big deal there. And jet fuel is actually what is most short around the world. By the way, if anybody needs like millions of barrels of jet fuel, I happen to have some sources for it. But it is very hard to get. It's a tough market. But I know a guy who's got a refinery and has a pretty good quantity of it. Let's see. Because he was speculating, I'm not going to lie. He grabbed it up while he could. Here's what's going on. Motor gasoline production was dropped from last year, so we're producing less gasoline. Distillate fuel is up a bit from last year because, as I said, it's highly in demand, so they're running close to capacity. Look at refinery capacity, 92.9%. That's pretty high, although it was higher last week, so some refining capacity is offline. Last week they made 20 million barrels a day. This week they're making 19.9, but that's going to make what? Not even 700,000 a week difference. Not a big deal. Oil out of the SPR, 5 million barrels were taken out of the SPR. Biden keeps putting it on the market, which is how they're keeping the prices down. That's like, when it went over 100, they started taking oil out of the SPR to regulate the prices. But of course, now the SPR is down from 621 to 469. That's a lot of freaking oil. It's 160 million barrels of oil taken out of the SPR, 150. So distillates, as you can see, is way down from last year. But motor gasoline is only down a few million barrels. We can go up and down a few million barrels in a week. So that's not a big deal at all. And look at that, and we had a build in all other oils. That's once again that sneaky thing. So this was a terrible week for the inventories. We exported less. So we exported a little bit less, and that added 700,000 barrels to the internal inventories. And still we had, I'm sorry, we had a build, so that's bad for them. We're still exporting, though, 900,000 barrels more than last year. And that's, obviously ridiculous. It's every day. So that means every week it's 7 times 9 is what, 63. So 6.3 million barrels a week are being exported. I'm sorry, more. I'm sorry, 6.3 million barrels more are being exported per week than last year. So we're taking oil out of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve and selling it to other countries. Now, is that a bad thing? No, I mean, not really. It's a Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and the fact that we're selling oil to other countries, we're alleviating a global price crisis. We're doing our bit to alleviate a crisis for other people. We're sending oil that's scarce, and petroleum, more accurately, refined products that are scarce. We're sending out of this country to other countries because we're making more than we need. All right. And we are supplying other countries with what they need when things are tight. Russian refineries, people aren't buying gasoline from Russian refineries or distillate or so on and so forth. Who are they buying it from? America, which is why our petroleum companies are making so much money. That's also why you don't see a real call for their heads right now. It's not. Yes, there's a windfall profits and they should be taxed, but they're not doing anything particularly wrong. They're just selling oil on foreign markets, which is in demand, the refineries, and there's a huge demand for as much as they can possibly make. But what's really wrong, though, is that when you hear this bullshit about U.S. demand, because U.S. demand clearly, if we're shipping, we were shipping 3 million barrels a day out last year anyway. 21 million barrels a week we were shipping out. That's more than one day's consumption that we've always been shipping out of the country. So whenever they tell you what U.S. consumption is, they're totally full of shit, because it's 1/7 less than what they say. But now we're shipping 4 million barrels a day out. That's 28 million barrels a week is being shipped out, and it's only 19 million barrels a day that we produce. So basically a day and a half of our 7-day production, which is getting close to 20% as far as I know. Yeah, that's 20% of our production is being shipped overseas. It's not our consumption. Okay, these are products supplied. Products supplied are then shipped out, so it's not being supplied for the U.S. So if you look at straight out U.S. demand, our demand for product is down significantly. Why? Various reasons. People are driving less, cars are getting better mileage, so on and so forth. Those, there's good reasons for this stuff, and that's the real trend you got to watch. And that's why somebody's told me about like investing in refineries and so on. I'm not keyed on, not at these prices. We bought Valero when it was cheaper, but now it's expensive and we sold it. So I'm not keen on chasing refineries now, because long term there's a destruction to this whole thing, and globally there is too. And especially oil companies, these prices aren't going to last forever. They're only pumped up because of the war. When the war ends, if the war ends, could get worse, but I don't think it will, because as I've said here before, ultimately Putin is losing this war, and unless he's willing to really go at it, and I think all he's doing now is proving that the Russian military is nowhere near what you thought it was. And frankly, Syria proved that already. He's been fighting a proxy war in Syria for ages. And they've been sneaky about it. So we kind of thought that in the Ukraine, where he can just drive his tanks across the border and so on and so forth, we thought that they would have a much better showing, right? Like, we suck in Afghanistan, but if you invade Canada, we can drive right over there and fix things. So we could look stupid when we're out in foreign countries like Iraq and Afghanistan. We could look not too effective against the local fighters. But Russia also fell into a quagmire in Afghanistan for 20 years and got screwed. So, you got to weigh the factors of Russia's crazy enough to just keep fighting no matter what. They proved that in Afghanistan. They just won't ever stop. They've proven that in Syria. It's very hard to get them off their position, but this is really, really embarrassing at this point for Putin, because all he's doing is proving he has no way to win this war, without, of course, stepping it up to levels that would make him an obvious war criminal. He has bigger bombs. He could wipe out cities. He's got those flashy, horrifying thermal bombs that we use sometimes. He's got those too. He could drop one on Kiev, end of story. There won't be anyone living in Kiev 5 minutes later. He's not quite that crazy. Maybe, hopefully. The difference between Putin and previous Russian the presidents, or whatever the hell you call them, or premiers. The difference with Putin, though, is he's like Trump. He's got a cabinet of billionaires surrounding him, and they're not really hardcore believers. They're a bunch of freaking oligarch criminals that want to protect their oligarch criminality, and they don't want anybody interfering with all the money they're stealing from their own people and the government and so on and so forth. That's what they care about. They don't give a crap about winning the war. The war is a trophy prize for Putin, or is supposed to be. He wants to make his legacy on expanding Russia back to where it was in its former glory, blah, blah, blah. He's looking for a history book. I said, so a couple of months ago, I said he's ultimately going to lose this thing, because he's not accomplishing what he wants to accomplish. He said doing the opposite. And there's no upside for him to keep going. He's not, I don't think he's going to sit there and make himself into a psychotic murder. I don't think that's what he's looking to go down in history. I think he'd be, at a certain point, he's going to have to say, okay, I'm better off being the peacemaker here, than wiping out these people. Because he can't win a clean war. That's very obvious now. And all he's doing really is proving how vulnerable Russia actually is. Because they are just dropping troops like flies. If these were American troops, people would be freaking out by now. And even in Russia, they are kind of freaking out. But eventually, all these self-interested people he surrounds himself with are going to start in their quiet, behind-the-scenes way turning against him. So anyway, the war will be over one day. But that's my point. My point is the war will be over one way. There's why I think so. More likely than it gets worse. And by the way, this grain concession that Russia just made was gigantic. They just said, okay, because what's happening now is now we're at a crucial point. We weren't there before because all the grain that Russia wasn't allowing was going into storage, right? Just like we have silos in America, Ukraine's got silos. You always think of these countries as not being the same as America, but you think Ukraine isn't at the level of like a U.S. farmer from the 1900s? It's like, of course they are. They've got everything a regular farm, frankly, from like the 70s. They've got everything that a regular farmer would have, including storage facilities for grains and so on and so forth. So what we've done in one season, it's only been one season, right? March to now, we're only in one season of crops. All we're doing now is filling up the silos with grain. This is what happens kind of every year before they sell it. What happens if we don't allow shipments now, though, is we overflow the silos, grain is not stored properly and begins to rot and waste. And that's when you start getting in trouble as the guy causing rot and waste, because every single country where people are hungry, which is pretty much all of them, wherever there are hungry people, they're blaming you because you are causing Ukrainian grain to rot in the fields. Once you start doing that, it changes the tone in a very negative way. So Putin says, okay, we have to at least allow some shipments out to say that I'm not, completely, 100% responsible for this stuff. Although obviously you are, and you're the guy that blew up the railroads and everything else and made a mess of everything. So letting that out is sort of step one, though, because it's basically a peaceful gesture. It's a gesture. It's a treaty gesture, whether you label it that or not. And that has affected commodity prices, and that has affected oil prices, because if you even think for a second that the war could end, then you can't logically sustain these oil prices, because the real traders of oil know that we don't actually use 20 million barrels a day, no matter what this says. America doesn't use it. And if we don't use 20 million barrels a day, then you got to go back to the chart. Let's see if we need to go to IEA. I don't want to spend too much time trying to find this chart, but they do have long-term charts. U.S. power grid. Look at this. Wow, that's impressive. Look at us. That's really cool. Okay, so in the first half of this year, we added 15 gigawatts of storage, and now we only have 45 total gigawatts of generating capacity. We only have 45 gigawatts. So if we added 15 gigawatts, that means we went from 30 to 45. That's kick-ass. So go America with the electric. Seeing people, and this is the thing, people will tell you like, oh, it can't be done. We can't possibly generate that much electricity, blah, blah, blah. This is in 6 months. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Those are additions. That's not total. I'm sorry. I apologize. That's not. That's additions accumulating over the year. They're saying we added 45 total gigawatts. I'm sorry. What's the total then? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, no, because the total capacity is so big. Sorry, that's 6, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, good 11. So 11 plus. So it's 1,100, and we've added 45 this year. That's more like it. So we've added about 5%. Still a very impressive number, but not crazy impressive like the other way. Calendar, camera, calculator. That's the word. Maybe it started with a C. 15 divided by 11. No, 45 divided by 1,100. 4%. So we've added 4% over the course of the last 12 months, but it's increasing. That's the important part. It's increasing drastically. And we are really cranking this stuff up. Look at the solar, which, by the way, what's that stock of the decade? SunPower. Yay. And SunPower is having a nice day. Not you. Yay. That's a really, yeah, they're having a really nice week, actually. So this is our stock of the decade, and still low. It's not as low as it was when I kept banging the table on it for the last couple of months, but now it's coming back to a midpoint. Do we have a longer chart? Do I just change that to W? You think that's going to do it? Will it explode? It worked. Okay, so still, low, historically low, and there's no reason it's not going to go back to 50. I mean, this is crazy, and this chart illustrates it. Like, look at solar. Look at the contribution difference. Look at where this is coming from. 17.8, 33% of our capacity coming online is solar, and that's before this bill passed. Oh, that's extrapolated to the end of the year. I'm sorry. So here's where we are now. Here's where they extrapolate for the rest of the year. So this is with the bill passing. It's really cranking up like crazy. It's going to be exciting. And solar is now only 66 out of that 1,100 is solar. So 5, 6, 7% is solar. And look at natural gas. Holy crap. But we have plenty of natural gas, so we're not going to worry about that. That wasn't what I was looking for, though. I was looking for, oh, I know. I was looking for the this is going to be a pain in the Petroleum Marketing Monthly, Petroleum Supply Monthly. All right, let's say that's it. U.S. supply disposition, ending stocks of oil and petroleum products. Daily average supply and distribution of petroleum products. Okay. Oil supply, disposition, production of crude by pad district and strength. What do you think? Average supply, daily average U.S. supply, distribution, blah, blah, blah. No, this is not going to be it's going to take me way too long to figure this out. I just wanted to say, like, if you go back many, many years and you look at how much consumption is, and then you take into account how much we're exporting. But anyway, the bottom line is you'll see U.S. consumption is steadily going down year after year after year. And it's a real simple reason why, though. It's because, all right, we're done with this. So how many cars are sold in the US each year? Okay, so 17 million autos a year, and there are 200 million, take my word for that, there too. So 10% of our auto fleet turns over in a year. That's the bottom line. So if the average of the auto fleet now is 25 miles a gallon, right? And new cars come in at, let's say, 35 miles a gallon. Okay, so that's going to be is going to be 10 divided by 40% better. Okay, so that means every year 1/10 of 40%, okay, is going to be less oil used by cars and trucks. Same thing's going on with trucks, so they're improving their efficiency. So even going from 25 to 35 we are every year using 4% less fuel to do the same job. And that goes across industries. Don't kid yourself. It's not like it's oh, that's only cars. You know, this is the kind of bullshit that you get when the analysts are on TV. Oh, that's only automobiles, or what about trucks and this and that? Yeah, everybody's doing the same thing. In every business, everybody's trying to use less fuel, you know, for economic reasons and for environmental reasons. So you look at that as pretty normal. Now you look at the CAFE standards, and we're getting close to an inflection point here as well, though. La-di-da-di-da, who's going to give me a good picture? Let me get a recent one. Tools, time, past month. Ah, here we go. Okay. Bigger, bigger, bigger. La-da-da. What is that? Animal farms. That's not the chart I wanted. This is the problem, right? Can't get what you need. Transportation and energy. Okay, all right, good. Oh, nope. CAFE standards. US. So the CAFE standards are the required efficiency for why does it say Trump when you ask for a recent thing? Oh, maybe I lost my recency. Fuel economy standards compared to, all right, I guess we'll take it. Historical enacted. All right, well, here's the US. So what I was trying to say, though, is that here we are in 2022. This is us. Now, apparently, this seems like a really old article. It is. It's 2018. Anyway, at some point, we're heading towards 55. At a very soon point, though, we're at maybe 35 now. This is where we are at 35. And we are required to be at 55 in the not too distant future. So when I talk about 4% better than 25 now, if the average for the fleet is 25 miles a gallon, when the average for the fleet is 55 miles a gallon, obviously when all those cars roll in, we'll be using half of the fuel that we use now. And don't forget, we're doing that light bulb thing too, right? Like almost everybody uses LED light bulbs now. That's another huge savings of energy, not of gasoline, but of energy. So there's all sorts of little ways that we are beginning to economize and change, and it's a slow process, but it's like eroding the beach. It's like the tide coming in, right? It's coming in, and it's going to erode a huge portion of the usage. Basically, half of the consumption is going to go away, and possibly more than half over time as we electrify the fleet and so on and so forth. You know, obviously, if we have, you know, you say 55 miles a gallon is the average for a gasoline using car, and they are counting electric vehicles in that eventually. But when you look at it and say 55, they're going to go from 55 to 0. So it's not going to stop. Okay, so over the next 10 years, 100% of the improvement is going to be kicked in. We'll be at 55 within 10 years when the fleet rolls over. So that means 50% less fuel is going to be used. You're going to get another, you know, if you use 2 gallons of gas to go 50 miles now, you only need 1 gallon of gas when you have 55 miles a gallon. So we're going to use half. So in 10 years, we've been going at 4%. We're going to go at 5% at least. But the more percentage of cars that kick into electric that use no fuel, and if we start doing trucks that have no fuel, and we start doing planes that have no fuel, all of a sudden, what do you need the oil for in the first place? It's all gone. Not all gone. There'll still be things that we use it for. Probably plastic is not going to go away, although it should. But we haven't figured out we do have replacements. I'm working on a project to put hemp to change hemp into plastic, but it's a long, to really enact this stuff and get people to use it, it's a very long process, very slow. So there'll still be things that are done with oil, chemicals or oil, things have to be made with oil. There won't be nothing, but oh, well, here you go. Here's somebody who's very optimistic, but this is exactly what is happening. Whatever the time frame is, this is what's happening. Over the next 10 years, this is what will happen. This is actually, well, there you go. It's over a longer period. This is over 20 years, and this did happen. So what's going to happen over the next 10 years is, again, something as horrifying as this for the oil industry. And so it's going to grind down year after year after year. And it's like when they tell you how the telcos are uninvestable, right? And the media companies are uninvestable. Because why? Because they're eroding. Their business model is eroding, and they're losing customers every year because people are cutting cords and people are doing this and people are doing that. For whatever reason, they've already saturated the market, and oil has saturated the market. They're not going to come and find new ways for you to want to use your oil. I mean, they might try. That'll be interesting. Maybe we'll start wearing it instead. Make oil-based T-shirts and things. So they're going to have to figure out either they'll have to find some new way to use it. But again, that's like saying the cable company or the phone company will find a new way for you to use the phone. It's like, look, you can crush nuts with your phone. There's only so many things you can do, and they're basically in a declining market, long-term, steadily declining market, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. And it's not a long-term thing. It really is a 10-year thing. And a 10-year thing, all these oil companies are very, very screwed. So they're not great long-term investments. Not my favorite thing to be on. See if we have any questions. Nobody has a question. You guys are amazing. All right. So what were we talking about today? Oh yeah, I know. I knew I had a topic in mind. Top trades. No, yes. No, that was not what I was. Money talk, that's what I was talking about today. So in today's post, we were talking about the Money Talk portfolio. So I'll do a spoiler alert. Here's how it ends. Wow, that is so blown up. How about, is this the post? I'm so confused. Which way Wednesday? Were there words up here? Oh, it's the leading image of the article. Wow. I didn't realize that. That's crazy. I'm like, why is that so huge? It's the lead image of the article posted at the top. Anyway, so, we're obviously the indexes are on track. We're not going to worry about that. I just happened to, I was thinking as an example, I was talking about how we're on track and how things are going well. And basically, since I was on Money Talk right here, we were nice and down. And it's funny because if you go to the interview, which is not, not on this one, the next article after this, the more recent article on the 15th, after the day after the show, this was the day of the show. So on July 13th, I was on the show, and Kim, all I'm doing is talking about all I'm doing is going over the portfolio and talking about the market and the market. Don't forget, I mean, we were in a very bad spot. The market looked terrible. We had been going back down. Everybody's very disappointed. We hit a bottom, then we came up, and then we started falling again, and we were coming back near the bottom. So basically, this was the actual day I was on. It was like all red. And I'm on there saying, here's all the things I like to buy. Here's 10 stocks I love at this price and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, well, Phil, you're such an optimist. And it's a funny thing to say to me because I'm the one that was all doom and gloom like in the fall, you know, because why? Because that's when things, and everybody else was optimistic and she was calling me Mr. Doom and Gloom and now she's calling me an optimist. I was really taken aback by it when she said it. You can see it on the show because I'm like, she calls me an optimist. I'm like, what? I'm like, I'm not an optimist, but things are too cheap. You have to be able to step back and get out of your situation. You've got to look at something objectively and say, is it too cheap? The same way when everything was so fantastic in the fall, which is on this chart. Here we go. So here's the fall. And I'm on the show and I'm saying, I think we're way overboard. I think these things, I think it's crazy to keep going like this and everybody better have their hedges in place because this is too much to pay. This is too much to pay. This is too little to pay. These are the right amounts to pay. It's not that hard. And it's not, and no, it's not based on the chart, but the chart eventually figures it out. The chart doesn't figure anything out. So let's dispel that. You know, I'm the most anti-TA guy in the world. I think TA is a bunch of voodoo bullshit. But it illustrates, in hindsight, you can see the mechanics of the market taking effect. And what are the mechanics of the market? The mechanics of the market are when it gets to this price, and I look at my own portfolio, which we did, and which we sold off a shitload of our stuff in the fall, because we looked at our own portfolio and I said, I would not buy as much as I love Apple, I wouldn't buy it for this price. $3 trillion. That's where I drew the line. As much as I love Apple, $3 trillion was getting silly. It was 30 times earnings. Too much. You know, Amazon 100 times earnings, and then Netflix 200 times earnings, and Tesla 500 times earnings. You know, these are getting really stupid. And you can't grow from there. How are you going to grow from there? Where are you going to justify these numbers? It's one thing to say that Cheesecake Factory, who has 200 stores or whatever they have, doesn't matter, that Cheesecake Factory with 200 stores will one day grow to the size of Olive Garden with 1,100 stores. And then you look at Olive Garden and say, well, is it a similar demographic? Is it the same kind of customer, so on and so forth, blah, 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 or Landry's or something like that? You compare it to somebody else of a similar kind of restaurant that has the same kind of acceptance. And Cheesecake is my favorite, you know, my favorite restaurant stock. But the thing about, I forget who it was. It was somebody in Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. Maybe Seinfeld said it. It was either Seinfeld or the guy he was with said it. But it was one of those things where they just offhand comment is, it's like going to, I know, he said it's like going to the Cheesecake. Oh, he said winning the lottery is like when you go to the Cheesecake Factory and your buzzer goes off to tell you your table, you know, your buzzer goes off sooner than you thought to tell you you've got a table. And I was thinking the fact that that's a joke, right? That a comedian, like not a bad comedian, a good comedian who understands the concepts, would tell a joke of universal acceptance, you know, where they expect that anywhere that people hear that, they know that that's a joke. Because why? Everywhere in the country, wherever there's a Cheesecake Factory, you have to wait for a table. You can't walk into a Cheesecake Factory and get a table. So you have to, you know, there's a line all the time at every Cheesecake Factory in America. It is crazy. So that's the kind of stock I like to invest in, right? So, you know, that's what you mean by stock picker's market, okay? Not everybody is doing badly in a market. Look at Macy's, just had nice numbers. SunPower, of course, just had great numbers. GNRC, Generac, the generator company, just put up some better numbers than people thought they were gonna. Even Tupperware did better than people thought. You know, we pick things that we feel are going to do well in this challenging environment. And, you know, so some things are too much, and then you get down here and some things are too little. what happens here is there's such a preponderance of things to buy that are too cheap. Once the market gets to that price, that means that there are now enough things to buy that are so compelling that even cheap bastards like me are going to say, okay, all right, let's take some money off the sidelines and put it back into stocks. And I'm just buying the same stocks I sold back here. I'm not buying different stocks. I like the same stocks now. They're a reasonable price. I'll get back in them. So that's why when you look at the portfolio now and you look at the portfolio 2 years ago, it's pretty much the same stocks. It's not that many changeovers because I still like the companies. It's just they have a certain price that's too high and a certain price that's too low. A Toyota Camry is $40,000. If I can buy one, if I see one for $30,000, I'll buy it. If somebody offers me $50,000, I'll sell it because I'll get another one. It's not a big deal. And that's why would you be attached to stocks? It's a thing. It doesn't mean you hate your company. It doesn't mean you betrayed anything. The stock doesn't care. You're allowed to see other stocks. You have to pick your moments, and you have to pick your prices and your timing, and you have to be conscious of the conditions that are affecting your company at the moment. So that brings us to what I thought would be a good thing to talk about today, which is, I'm sorry. So we were going to say, so the money talk portfolio turned out without being touched. So in other words, when we reviewed the money talk portfolio here, we were at $194,000. So if you go to the money talk portfolio, the exact same portfolio before any changes were made, right? But with the updated pricing, now it's 125%. So we gained 225 minus 194, so that's like 30,000 bucks. So we gained $30,000 in less than a month from July 13th. Because the market went up 10%. We gained 30% in our portfolio because the market went up 10%. Why? That's the leverage we have in these positions. Now, notice this is what becomes key though. Oh, I'm sorry. But then we made changes because while reviewing it, now we're going to go over what those changes were and why we did it. That's what's important lesson here. It's all about portfolio management, right? So what changes did we make? We made changes, and those changes pushed us up from 225 to 237. So we added $12,000 more dollars, which is another 12%. So now we're up, instead of being up 30%, now we're at 42% because we made those adjustments. We've leveraged the market gains 4-to-1 going up. But if you don't take advantage of the times when the market is down, so going back, I'm sorry, it's back on this one. If you don't take advantage of the times when the market is down and make your moves, then when are you going to do it? You're not going to get the sale when the market isn't low. And but what you've got to learn is to take your fear out of the equation and figure out what stocks are worth adjusting, which ones are not. You've got to be managing the amount of money you have. All right. And back here, we had a lot of cash. Why do we have a lot of cash? Because we cashed out at the top and sold a lot of our successful positions. We said, okay, fine, things were running ahead of themselves. And I was talking about that today also, talking about the standard deviations of your move. We expect to make a certain amount of money per month. If we make more, that means we're ahead. If we make less, we're behind. And we have to look at the portfolio and figure out, why am I behind? Why am I ahead? But when you're way outside, when you're way too far ahead, you have to understand there's a trend. And here's a real important point. Like every stock, for the whole portfolio, we add this up, but every stock has a number. Boyd has $25,000 of upside potential. So if Boyd, now that's between now and January 2024. If that's 18 months, if 6 months from now, we only have 12,000 left to gain. We're 50%, we've gained half of what we could possibly gain in the next 6 months. That means we're way ahead of schedule. So I have to say to myself at that point, even if I'm 100% sure I'm going to gain that last 12,000 out of Boyd, I still have to wait 12 months to gain it. So do I have other ways to make more than $1,000 a month that are just as sure as I would be about Boyd? And that's the key. So Boyd, what could happen? It's a gaming stock. COVID could resurge. Things could shut down. There could be problems. The economy could collapse. There are things that could happen to Boyd that are outside of their control that would cause them to not perform the way we think. So if I get way ahead on Boyd, I say to myself, maybe I'm so far ahead, I should quit. Maybe I should quit while I'm ahead, right? So if it's over its target, that's one thing. If it's under its target, and I say, well, I got huge upside potential. If it goes lower than this, even if there's COVID, and even if there's that, I think it won't last that long. Well, I mean, you could have said that about COVID back here, right? I think it won't last that long. And they'll be reopened again, and I'd be silly for me to sell here out of panic. And maybe the position is small enough where I don't mind putting some more money in. Not true though. This is already at 14,000. See how we track everything? It's at net 14,000. I've got 1,400, 350 in the spread. I have 25,000 to gain. That's a lot to gain on 14,350. So we have to get back to 65. Is 65 a realistic target for the next 18 months? Yes, it is, unless, and because I'm aware of my risk factors, I'm watching out for them. If they start coming in, and every day, not every day, many days, I will look at the New York Times. You know, I don't get the paper anymore. When I had the paper, I read the New York Times every single morning without fail. And digitally, it just doesn't. I don't get the same out of it digitally as I used to. I still read it, of course, but I mean digitally. But I'm watching this all the time. That's what I care about. How many new cases? I obviously look at these, but how many new cases are we getting? Is it getting worse? Is it getting better? Okay. This is our sort of static number for most of this year. It was up to 140 something a week ago, and I said we're hitting the point where I get really concerned because 150,000 cases a day, you're in trouble. So we fortunately peaked out at 140 something, and now we're coming down a bit. So hopefully that was just a little summer wave of COVID, and it's over. Hopefully. China, of course, is freaking out with their numbers, but they have zero tolerance. Where are we? Oh yeah. So back to here. So the point is, we made these adjustments and we added 12% more to our adjustments, but it's not just we added 12%, that we added a lot of upside potential, and we'll talk about that too. All right, so we've increased our upside potential substantially. And how do we do that? How do we make these decisions? So we had, keep forgetting to go back. Oh, I'm sorry. This is going back. We had 140,000 on the sidelines. We had been very cautious. The market, you think it'd be easy to keep track of, right? Not the NASDAQ, the S&P. Here you go. So we had been very cautious. I guess the last time I was on the show before July would be June, May, April. Maybe we were on the show in April. We had been very cashy still in April, thinking the market would go further down. 12,000 was our 11,500 was actually our target on the NASDAQ. That's basically exactly where we bottomed out. So we were waiting for 11.5. And in April, when I was on the show, I was not, I was not satisfied that we were anywhere near the bottom at 14. It seemed we'd already had a tragic setback. We came down from, was it 18 on the S&P or some much higher number? Oh, this is NASDAQ. I'm sorry, 16. Whatever the hell it was on the NASDAQ. I don't remember anymore. 16.5. There you go. 16.5 on the NASDAQ is the S&P I was thinking of. So we were basically halfway down at that point. And we completed it. But the point is, we had a huge amount of cash, and you have to decide when are you going to spend that cash. And you've got to constantly just reevaluate and review. And every month we do it, and not every day. And don't look to do something. And we tend to do all of our adjustments unless something really crazy happens. Every month, options expiration date, that's when we make our adjustments. It's a discipline. That's the week that we review every single position in every single portfolio we have, and we decide if we should do something about it. So again, what triggers that? It's whether or not we're too far or if we're on track, or if we're way too high or way too low. But that's based on the fact that every position us has an actual value that we believe in. Neil says, I have a subscription issue. Yeah, Neil, they're working on that now. Believe me, Andy and Bill are both working on that. You have to write to Andy at PhilStockWorld, admin at PhilStockWorld, Andy at PhilStockWorld. You got to write to them. I can't take notes and do this, and this thing will disappear. These questions will disappear when I'm done with the webinar. All right, so please let them know. You write to me, Phil at PhilStockWorld. I will make sure it gets done. I know they're working on it. Okay, it will be taken care of, though, I promise you. So all that'll get sorted out. We've had some issues with the new site with the billings. Let's see. All right, so what do we do? So we look at our positions one by one. Boyd, and I even wrote, despite the pullback, we're way ahead on this thing. And what's our Boyd trade look like? We have at the heart of the trade is the 45-65 put bull call spread. We sold the 75 calls for January because we don't think it's going to get to 75, and we collected a lot of money. We collected $15,800 selling 20 calls. And I'm glad I did it, right? Because we made $14,000. And they're only down to $1,200. We didn't buy them back because I don't see how they're not going to expire worthless. I do think Boyd can get to 65 by 2024. I certainly don't think it's going to get to 75 by 2023. Why? Is COVID going to be resolved in 6 months? Are those factors going to be off the table? Is the world economy going to be better? Are people going to be flying in from China to stay at these casinos and such? No, we're not going to be back in the, back 100% by then. So therefore, I think 70, and that's what all this is based on. I think 70 is too high, so I'm going to sell it to somebody who didn't think it was too high. This guy was an idiot. He paid me $8. He thought it was good. It has to be at 75 plus it has to be at 83, Boyd. It has to be at 83 for him to make money. And here's Boyd. Boyd was, I think that's in September, right? So Boyd was at 60. Wasn't even 70 when we sold this. So in September of 2021, this guy paid $8. So 2021 September here. All right, we probably took advantage of this. It spiked up. So somebody, this is what people do. They extrapolate. Oh, Boyd went from 60 to 70, 65, 10% high. Boyd went up 10%. And so they figure it's going to go up like 10% every week now from now on. So they pay a ridiculous amount of money for the $75 calls. And that's because traders, for the most part, they go by these idiotic charts and they don't think about the actual operation of the company. Why? How are they going to make this money? In other words, McDonald's, right? You got a McDonald's store, single store, $3 million a year in business, $500,000 in profits, 15% profits dropping to the bottom line. Historically that if they break even at about 2 million is about their break even point, and then they start making some good profits on the next million. So the 500,000 really comes off the excess million because the first 2 million is paying for the store, the location, the real estate, the basics, the equipment gets paid off, the land gets paid off, blah, blah, blah. So there's not much profit in the first couple of million, but you can see that when they get to 3 million, things start going much better. So That's where 500,000 comes from. How are they going to expand that store? What can they do? They can get more customers in, but if they get more customers in, then they need more people, then they need more product, then they need more supply. So then you're saying, well, how are they going to really get more customers in? They have to buy more equipment, they have to do this, they have to do that. Well, those are expensive. So those are going to start at the first. When you're trying to expand, you may even actually be detrimental to your business, right? Because it may take years to pay off these equipment purchases you're going to make. What if they add more seating? Well, if you can add more seating, but if you add more seating, that just seats more people. It doesn't serve them. So you have to think about, how are they going to expand? Same thing with Cheesecake Factory here. How are they going to expand? Where are they going to expand? Cheesecake Factory, by the way, you look at the stores they have now. The thing about Cheesecake Factories is they tend to be in really, really good locations. They tend to pick really good malls with very wealthy people generally. They don't go to like the schlocky malls. They go to the more, the upper end malls, where people don't look twice at their menu prices and don't say, oh, there's cheaper things to get. These want really good food. So they give you a huge quantity of good food at a not too crazy price. That's generally Cheesecake Factory's model. McDonald's is McDonald's. You know how that works. So how are they going to make more money? We just saw how McDonald's makes more money. They fired all the freaking people who used to work in the front, and they replaced them with now they got the customers doing their work for them. So and frankly, I love it. Instead of standing in line, I used to not go to McDonald's at all. Now I'll go with my kids. I'm actually happy to go there because it's like because I can order the burger. I can now order a regular McDonald's burger with lettuce, tomato, and mayonnaise. You didn't used to be able to do that. Now the machine, because it used to freak out the cashiers. They used to go crazy if you try to do stuff like that. I can order my fries with no salt because everything on the computer is like touch, 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 and boom. And you can even save your standard orders. I'm not there yet. I still only go where my kids go. So, but you could save your standard orders, which frankly I keep meaning to do when I'm there, but I never feel like it when I'm actually there. And it'll know what you want. That's great too. And say, hey, Phil, do you want your usual hamburger with lettuce, tomato, and mayonnaise? Yes, I do. That's what I like. Do you want fries with no salt? Yes, of course I want fries with no salt. When it knows exactly how you like everything, exactly what your order is, and it's the easiest possible thing you could buy, then you're very likely to pull off on the highway and go to a McDonald's, especially since every McDonald's in America knows exactly how Phil likes his hamburger cooked. That's pretty cool. All right, and how do they do that? They did that so I don't mind talking to the terminal because I hated talking to the people in McDonald's. They were terrible. So they've eliminated terrible people. It's one of their weakest links was the communications gap and getting things done and passing the information back to the kitchen. That was a gap. So they fixed that gap by putting a machine in that takes exactly what you want and telling it to the kitchen. I imagine they've trained the kitchen staff to give you exactly what you want. And so on and so forth. Obviously, the machine is somehow equipped to make sure that things get done right. But those were investments. Those stores maybe got rid of a person that they were paying $25,000 to, but they replaced it with a $50,000 terminal. Something like that. So it's going to take a couple of years before they get their money back, but they will get their money back. And the bottleneck is now clearly, from what I saw, this is, I took a couple of road trips with the kids. What I saw is the bottlenecks are clearly in the kitchen now. There's no bottleneck of ordering. The people walk in, go tap, tap, tap. Most people have their favorites. My kids have their favorites. They're like, tap, hi, it's me. I want my stuff. That's basically how long it takes them. I'm sitting there tapping. They're getting annoyed at me, going, why don't you save your stuff? So the new bottleneck is now the other equipment. So, each step is a painful step for the owners of the stores. They've got to buy another hamburger machine, a bun more. I don't know how it works. Sorry, never worked at McDonald's. Had a friend who was a manager. Never actually went back there myself. But I worked in a lot of restaurants. I just never worked at McDonald's. But anyway, so whatever machineries and things that they need back there, another milkshake machine, another burger machine, whatever they make things out of, another refrigerator, very expensive, whatever it takes them to now expand their capacity further is a thing. I saw most McDonald's now have 2 drive-through lanes. So they've automated the system now. They have two drive-in lanes to process more cars because again, they're eliminating these bottlenecks that they've got in the system. So Bottom line is, so long term, yeah, McDonald's will get to a point where they'll make more money and be more profitable, and you can see where the other money is going to come from. But does that make it a great investment this minute? No, they got a lot of spending to do to get there. But it does mean that if McDonald's falls out of favor because the profits are disappointing and they're not at that point of their turnaround strategy yet, that's when you want to step in and buy. So that's a long way of getting around to the point. The point is, why are they not making money now? What is their problem? What is causing them not to be as profitable as they want to be, and is it going to resolve? And every stock's got to be like this. And again, Buffett tells you this. You know, if you don't understand how your company works, don't invest in it. Only invest in companies where you know how they make their money. Because if you don't know how they make their money, and it's like just some magic trick where money comes out, then how are you going to know when to buy and how are you going to know when to sell? All right, so here's Foot Locker. And here we were down $5,000 because I didn't think the range would break. I think we probably came in, we thought it would be that 40 would hold. All right. We'll wait to see how they behave on earnings. It's a 37.5 stock and net 400. So I didn't make a change on Boyd. Wait and see. Didn't make a change on Foot Locker. Wait and see. I don't think Foot Locker had their earnings yet. No, yeah. Oh, here they are. Because they're not a major. August 18th, yeah. So, you know, and again, because I can only make changes once every 3 months, it's a little bit different than a regular portfolio. But if right now, I would be inclined to buy Foot Locker ahead of earnings because this is really beaten up. You know, and I was saying this here at 25, but I didn't want to overextend. So I said, look, it's a $37,000 spread. It's currently net 400. We spent 5,000, so we're down 5,000. So we paid 5,400 basically for the spread, and it was down to $400. But what is it we need for the spread to work? In Foot Locker, we've got the $25 calls. It's at 25. Oh, I'm speaking of the net. So 22 minus 16, yeah. So 16 minus 22 is 6, and it's a little bit less than 6 from the 7. So yeah, under $6,000 is where we were. So we were net in for 6,000 on the spread basically. It's at $25, and we have 25 of them. So therefore, we need $27 would be $5,000 back, right? So basically our break even is $27 on that spread. I mean, there's puts. Where are the puts? $30 puts. So we can roll out, we can roll out of those over time. So I'm not worried about that either. And when I say we can roll out over time, it means if we have the $30 puts next year, you assume $5. So next year we'll have the $25 puts if we roll them. And the next year we'll have the $20 puts if we roll them. And do I mind owning Foot Locker eventually at $20? No. So I don't care about the puts. They're a non-issue for me. You know, if I end up having to buy 1,000 shares of Foot Locker for $20, I don't care. So all I care about is my bull call spread. My bull call spread, I have $25 calls. I'm in the spread for about $5,000. So at $27 and break even, anything above 27 is profit, up to $37,000. So we're already aggressive enough. We don't need to adjust the spread. We could have rolled down to the 20s. We could have rolled down from the 25s to the 20s, but I don't want to just put more money because that would have cost me, let's say that cost me $2. Let's say it only cost $2. I'm still spending $5,000 more and I haven't seen earnings yet. That's silly. If earnings are good, I'm going to make money. I make money at 27. If earnings are bad, it'll be cheaper to roll down after the earnings when I already seen that they're bad. There's no point in me taking action. There's no benefit to taking action. Now here's gold. Gold turned really, really ugly. This is gold, the stock Barrett gold, not gold, the commodity, but gold also, GOLD fell. Futures, metals, days. So gold had a really ugly run, and it fell from we peaked out at 2000 in March, 1950 as late as the end of April. Okay, and here's the end of April. So people still thought it was going to come back into the end of April, but then they gave up as things got uglier and uglier and uglier. But then they overreacted the other way. Silly people. And it's still right now, it's crazy low. Did they have earnings? I wouldn't think they came in already. Nope, August 8th. See, people are freaking out. They're bailing out ahead of earnings. So in any portfolio where I can make it, well, here's the thing. This was stupid, very stupid, overreaction. I don't think gold is long-term. Now, see, what do we like about gold? I think so. Barrick is a miner. Barrick is not gold. The miner will make a profit taking gold out of the ground and selling it. The price of gold doesn't make them lose money. It may make them less money. In other words, the net difference between what they pull the gold out of the ground for and what they sell it for may be less, and they won't make as much money, but they'll still make money. They're going to be a functioning business. They're not going to go bankrupt. And over time, they will continue to do so. So there'll be another good time that gold will go up and they'll be making a lot of money. Can gold go down? They make less money? Yes. Can gold go down so low that they don't make money? Well, that's why we buy Barrick Gold, because Barrick Gold has the lowest extraction cost of any miner. Therefore, everybody else will go out of business before them. And what does Barrick Gold do historically when everybody else goes out of business? They buy them. They buy other miners as they get crushed by low prices. Barrick loves it when the prices go low. That's when they go shopping, just like any good investor does, right? Hovnavian too is like that in real estate. When everybody else is screaming, they are buying. And then you hold on because they go to a whole new level of profitability when things get better. What Barrick does, even more so, because they are fanatical about keeping their mining costs down, their extraction costs down, is they will buy miners and immediately flip their portfolio. So let's say a miner's got 5 mines, and let's say the average cost of extraction for Barrick is they're pulling gold out of the ground, let's say at $1,100 an ounce, okay, as an average. So if they're pulling that for $1,100, let's say they buy a competitor and he's pulling out for $1,300 an ounce from his mines. He's got 5 mines, but he's got 4 mines that are in the 14, 15 range, and he's got 1 mine at 12. That's what they're buying him for. They'll buy the competitor, take the 1 mine, add it to their portfolio, and then sell the rest back out to the market. And you know what? This is the funny thing about gold, because even if it's costing them $1,400 to extract gold from this guy's mine, gold is $1,900. You're still making $500 an ounce. Or gold $1,750 now, was 19, but that's the point. So you're still making $250 an ounce if you're pulling it out at $1,500 an ounce. So some people are very happy to make $250 an ounce. They don't have Barrick's operational staff. They don't have their CEO. They don't have to pay. Well, there's not one guy in the organization making $10 million a year that they have to cover his costs, right? So there's a lot of small miners and small investors who are thrilled with the economics of a gold mine, even if the extraction cost is $1,500 bucks. So Barrick has no trouble unloading the mines one by one, and they can afford to buy the 5 mines at a time. They can afford to take the time to sell the 4 mines. They are connected everywhere in the world, and they've got respect. So when they sell a mine and they certify that this mine has this many ounces and this blah, 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 investors are happy to buy a gold mine from Barrick more so than the average con man selling a gold mine, right? Gold's a huge scam. So when you're buying a gold mine, and again, I have friends who have mines, so I know a lot about this stuff. When you're buying a gold mine, you have to be extremely careful about due diligence and checking it out and so on and so forth. But Barrick Gold, if I'm buying gold mine from Barrick Gold, I can pretty much count on the report that they give me to be accurate. They don't screw people. It's not something, their reputation is worth more than any amount of money they could make. You never hear in the paper, Barrick Gold, this guy sold, Barrick Gold sold me a bad gold mine. That just doesn't happen. But you hear about it constantly from any private seller of gold mines. So they have a huge advantage when they are marketing gold mines, that everybody trusts them to be giving them a fair deal on the mines. And that's a big thing, because when you're a small mining operation, you can't afford the kind of due diligence you really need to do to make sure the mines are okay. And meanwhile, gold is the ultimate inflation hedge. So, you know, it's weird that gold has been not performing recently, but, you know, historically in the 1,000-year history of gold, I'd say it's probably worth holding on to. If prices come back, great for Barrick. If prices don't come back, great for Barrick. No reason I want to get rid of that. So here, we rolled our longs to we doubled down. So we rolled to a lower strike. We rolled from the $15 calls of January to the 50 to double of the $10 calls in 2024. So we're giving ourselves another year, and $10 better in strike. We're moving below into the money. We're selling the $1.80 call spreads. I'm sorry, we're selling the 10-20 spread. So we're taking the $15 calls that were $2.51, and we're moving to spreads that are $4.90. So we're spending basically $2.50 for the roll, and then $4.90 to buy 24, and another $12,000 or whatever it is to buy more spreads. But then we're offsetting some of that cost by selling 20 of the 2024 17 puts, and it's the same thing. We're going to be able to roll them down, and I absolutely would love to own 2,000 shares of Barrick long term for that price. So all we're spending is $11,200 to move to a $50,000 spread. And what I mean by more realistic is that the 10-20 spread is much more likely to pay off than if we're starting at 15 and we need 25, right? So rather than hoping we get back to 25, I'm saying all we got to do is go back to 20 in 18 months, and we're going to make 50, and we're going to get $50,000 back. We spent $3,300 originally, so in other words, our original investment was like very small, and we wanted to see what happened. What happened is gold got much lower, so now we're pouncing and taking our original $3,300, spending $1,100 to move it, and now we've got a $50,000 spread. So now we spend $14,000, and our upside potential is $35,000 if we can get back to 2020. All we have to do is get back to 20. And as I said, I expect they bounce into the fall. And again, situationally, I have to look and say, when are earnings? And earnings are on the 8th. We were doing this a month ago. I knew I wouldn't be on the show again, so I have to make a decision. I mean, either now or never. So at basically $16, I'm like, shit or get off the pot. And of course, this is too good to pass up, so we double down. Hewlett Packard. This is miles over our target. Our target on Hewlett Packard was, I think, was it 25? No, 35. So our target for Hewlett Packard is 35 in January, and they're still at, and they're nearly at 35. That's why, so we were so high in target. So basically they're at 32.88 now. So if we hit 35, we get fully paid there. So there's nothing to do but wait and watch it here. I'm very confident about earnings. I wasn't worried. IBM is our trade of the year this year, but our entry is so low, it's a joke. IBM, we have the 100-115 bull call spread, and we sold the $100 puts, and that was net 45 minus 30 is 15 minus 12.5. What is that? $2,500 spread. So we spent $2,500 net dollars on a $30,000 spread. 2,000 times 15 is 30. So it's a $30,000 spread we bought for $2,500. No wonder it's our trade of the year. And all we had to do was get the 115. They were trading around 115 at the time. So all they had to do was hold 115 at the time. Now they're at 140. Or God, I'm sure they're higher than that today. But oh no, I'm sorry, they're not. They're lower. They were 132. But they're not at 115. They're not at freaking 115. So in November, around Thanksgiving, that's when we do our trade of the year. That's why IBM won. It had just so happened to crash. So when we're going into the trade of the year, we have like a list of 10 stocks, and it's like the Sweet 16 in basketball. We start doing our brackets and eliminations, and we start thinking about like which of these is going to be our trade of the year for next year. So a month before, I'm already looking at stocks I would like to buy if they get cheaper. That's a watch list, right? Then some of them go one way, some of them go the other way. IBM went the other way, got really, really cheap. And we determined we definitely had to buy it. It was just so obvious. I was like, I'm like, 115 is totally the floor for IBM. So we took a trade where 115 was the top of the trade. And I was like, you can't lose this. This is almost a perfect trade. So we're thrilled about that. And I said, so we're already up $19,000 on a $2,600 entry. Oh, the credit entry. So we're at 19,000 already. It's a $30,000 spread, and we were confident that we're going to get the last 10. And of course, we're going to get it because it has to go below 115 for us not to get the full 30,000. So what a great thing. So even then, though, even now with only even now with IBM trading, although it's down from where it was at the time I said it when it was at 140, but even now it's a $20,000 spread that's going to make 50%. It's still a great trade. It's not going to stop being a great trade for a long time. Intel, racked up. But what do we do with Intel? We rolled. So we're down 7,000. We entered at $3,700. We expected to be adding more in the second round, so here we are adding more in the second round. That, of course, is here, though. Don't forget we're down around here, so it's basically still where it was. And I said I have no problem with the put target of 45. That's in 2024. And let's just roll our $40 calls. So we're taking advantage of being this low. We're going to roll the $40 calls at 5, and we're doubling. We only had 20. Holy cow, we took a big jump. So we went from 20 $40 calls at 5 to 50 of the spreads at 5. So now instead of just having the calls naked, we're moving to 50 of the spreads at 5. So we don't have an unlimited upside, but all we have to do now is get to 40 in 2024, and we're going to make 50 times 10 is $50,000. So we're paying $25,000 for the $50,000 spread, plus we took the loss into the trade. So overall, we spent net $18,000. We cashed these, spent that. We spent $18,700 for the $50,000 spread, and it has $31,000 of upside, and still basically good for that. It's still the same trade, so it's good right now. And you see, we don't expect to always make 167%, 300%, whatever. But the point is, we aim for that. And why do we aim for that? We're putting out a low amount of cash on a very high profile spread. If everything goes great, if it happens to do this, then we make a ridiculous amount of money, a ridiculous percentage of our cash back. We'll make 3-4 times our money back. If something normal happens and it just goes kind of flat or goes up a little bit or whatever, we're going to make a good portion of this money. Okay, if it goes wrong, which is exactly what Intel did, Intel went wrong, then we're going to make a real cash commitment. And here is what we did. We went from $5,000 committed on the spread. $3,700. We started with a $3,700 spread, and now we put $18,000 into it total. We put $15,000 more dollars into it, and now we have an $18,700 commitment on a $50,000 spread, but the spread is a freaking 30-40 spread on Intel. We're thrilled with that. Now we made a commitment of money. Now we put some cash on the table. Here's Lebu, which is the biotech ETF. I think many biotechs are wildly undervalued. I don't know if this is today's. I think it is today's. But just today, Moderna, which is also one of our favorite stocks, went flying higher. I think there's a lot of biotechs that are ridiculously underpriced. So I think it's good. It's good to have this ETF. And here we had a credit, and we gained a net gain. Wait. Oh, I see. It was a net credit, so it would have been minus 17,215 when we started. Now it's positive 1175, and that means we actually made $18,000. So the negative was erased. So we got 17,000 in our pocket, right? And if we now had to cash it in, we cash it in for zero, or in this case, $1,100. That means we keep the money in our pocket and we get the 175. So net 18,000 profit. It's a $30,000 spread. So, as I said, conservatively, 18,390. I said conservatively upside potential, and I think I said conservatively because it's not even fully covered. Yeah, see, we're only half. Wait, yeah, those are puts. So we're only half covered. We have the 5-10 spread, but anything above 10, we still make money. I'm saying if it gets to 10, we're going to make that much money. And it's actually getting close to 10 now. It's at 932. So if it goes to 20, if it goes to 30, we're going to make just killer amounts of money on this trade. Altria, they had I said, boy, did they have a rough couple of months. This is what happened to them. It's the vaping and the legislation and this and that. It's all. Oh, come on. They kill people. They sell an addictive substance that is the #1 cause of death in America. They already got sued for that. So who cares if they're not allowed to sell some vaping cartridges? You really think that's going to be their biggest problem? It's so ridiculous. People just don't understand this business. They've already paid for the cancer thing. You can't re-sue them for that. They tell you that their product will kill you. It says so on the label. It says horrible things will happen to you if you consume their products. These are suicide pills that they sell. It's legal. It's been decided all the way up to the Supreme Court. They've already paid their fines. Anybody new is considered a well-informed consumer of suicide pills and has no right whatsoever to sue this company. So going forward, they still get to sell their suicide pills and their lawsuit proof. I'm going to walk away from this. So we doubled down on the calls. And that, so basically, as we had the $40 calls, I didn't think it was going to go lower than 40. And you have to look at the cost. Okay, so if I roll my 15 calls to the 30s, let's say for $5, just guessing, so it would have cost me $7,500 to roll down to the 30s, right? That's not so bad. But if I double down, it's only $8,000. So here's the thing: would I rather have twice as many 40s or make $10 more in the 30s? Now, I think if I think it's going to go higher than 50, I'm going to get more bang for my buck doubling down. If I only think it's going to go to 40, I'll do better at 30 by moving to the 30s. I'm going to make the extra $10, spending the same amount of money. So you have to think about like what's going to give me better. But the thing is, I basically no doubt it's going to go to 50, but I do think it could go to 60. I think this is crazy low pricing. So I would just rather have more of them. And that's what we did. We doubled down. And also by doubling down, I don't know if we even had a cover. Oh dear. So much for my voice. Okay, we have a cover at 15, but because we doubled down on these, instead of just rolling, I now don't have a cover on half. So I'm going to make the same $10 if it goes from 40 to 50. Now it's from 40 to 50, I'm going to get the same $15,000 back, right? But if I roll from 40 to 30, I'll get $15,000 more dollars, but I'm capped. Now I'm going to make the same money at 50, but I won't be capped on half of my longs. So I have a better upside potential. Not only do I have a better upside potential, but if things go the other way, I have 15 open slots to sell without risking being overcovered. So that's kind of the decision factor you're making. You got to think about it. It's like a chess thing. You got to think about every possible thing that could happen and what'll be the cost, what'll be the benefit of each possible thing that can happen. And it is just like chess, okay? Because in chess, if I move my queen from here to here, okay? And again, obviously you don't see it, but if I move my queen from here to here, well, I'm gonna show you exactly what I mean. I just realized I can do that chessboard. Look at that. Look how smart I am. A chessboard with some positions that are actually none of these are in progress. Isn't that crazy? Oh, you're kidding me. Oh, okay, good. Sort of. Okay. I don't know what this person thinks a bishop can do. What is that? You know, my dad and I used to play this game called Battle Chess. They don't have it anymore. Battle Chess is like a 2D version of the thing they play in Star Wars, where your pieces would move and then they go kick each other's ass. That was fun. That was many years ago they had this game. I don't know why it's not a thing anymore. Okay, so here's my chessboard. It's not a lot of pieces, but here's the thing. I move my knight. If I move my knight here, okay, what can happen? Well, he can take me with this pawn because this is how a pawn's allowed to take you. So they can move angle ways if they do that. Or he can take me with his knight because knights jump in the L. The same L that I make here, he can make here. Now, on the other hand, if I leave my knight here, he can't use this square. And his knight can't use this square because that guy's in the way. So his knight can only do this. His knight can only go there or here. There's only two places his knight can go. And if I move my pawn up one, now his knight can't go here either because then he'd get taken by me. So then he could only go there. I've now boxed it. Basically, if I move my pawn up one, I would waste his knight. He can't move it. It's stuck. Okay. But you see what happens in those? There are rules. There's only so many things that can happen if I do this. If I do this, like he can't magically attack me. He can't magically attack me. She can't come through here because this guy's in the way. You know, there are rules to what can happen. And you look at them and say, well, these are the things that could happen if that happens. And in a chess game, though, as you go to the second move and the third move that people can make, the possibilities start multiplying very quickly until it's almost incalculable. This is why chess was a very hard thing for computers to figure out, because eventually you get to millions, billions of possible combinations of things as you look 4, 5, 6 moves down the line, because each time he could do this or this or this or this or this or this, or he could do that, or he could flip the king and the queen's positions and blah, blah, blah. There's all these different weird things you can do after a couple of moves, because if he moves him here and then he moves this bishop here, and then he could castle the king over here, and then the castle could go up this way. You know, that's a lot of shit right there, and the computer's like freaking out because then 5 different things could happen here too. But the reality is, with options, there aren't that many things that can happen, right? I'm going to make a move, and the market is going to do what? It's either going to go up, down, or stay flat. The market is not going to jump and make a left. It doesn't do that. The market's going to go up or down or flat. Now, it's going to go up, down, or flat a certain percentage, but you can also say to yourself, within the realm of probability, that it's only going to go up, down, or flat 5%, 10%, 20%. Those are your possibilities. Yeah, if you're prepared for all of those things, and it's not that many things, and you're comfortable with the move. So if it, if the market goes up 10%, I'll do this. If the market goes down 10%, I'll do this. If the market goes down 20%, I'll do that. If the market goes down 20%, I'll do that. If you look ahead to those moves and you're comfortable with what you can do if the market does that, then you have the ability to plan your portfolio. You'll be able to see ahead, and when it happens, it'll be an opportunity. You'll know that a thing happened that allows you to do something good, a thing happened that allows you to do something bad. So getting back to this now, not Paramount. So getting back to Mars, like I said, I've got a 40, 55 spread or whatever the hell it is, doesn't matter, but I have to look now. I have a 40, 50 spread. Didn't work out, okay? I thought it was, I was confident at some time. I thought it would hold 50, it didn't. So now I got a 40, 50 spread. It's not terrible to have a 40, 50 spread. I can do nothing, but I really think it's too cheap here. And so I can do A or B. What can I do? So I'm gonna, rather than spend my money to go to 35, I think I have more flexibility doubling down, because now I have more upside. I have 15 open calls that can make money above 50. I have 15 open calls I can cover if 45 doesn't work out and it starts going back down. And then I can roll my 30 calls down lower if I decide to later. But I can cover a lot of the cost of that roll by selling short calls. So I have a lot of different moves I can make, but it's really not that many things I'm looking at. I'm like, if it goes up, I make a lot of money. If it goes flat, I make decent money because I double down. If it goes down, then I'm probably going to cover the 15 open calls that I didn't bother selling short calls against. And then if that seems like it's working out and it holds up, I can then roll those 30 calls down for $5 each for $15,000 more dollars. But then I would have, let's say I cover with the, let's say I cover with 1540s. Well, 1540s is $8,000, right? So let's say I cover with 1540s at $6,000. Let's say it goes down so badly at 6,000, I only get $6,000 for the 40s. So I would cover, don't forget I have 30 40s. I'm going to cover with 1540s for $6,000, and I'm going to spend how much to roll 30 down there? It's going to cost me $15,000. So if I collect 6 here and spend 15 to roll, I'm going to spend $9,000 more to be in the 30s, and I would have 30 30s with 10 short 40s. So I make $10,000. I'm sorry, make $15,000 on half of them, and I would make $30,000 on the other half. So it's then a $45,000 spread. I've got 10 short 50s already. I'd have 10 short 40s, and I'd be in the 30s. So now now the potential is to make $45,000 at 50, and I would have spent $10,600 plus another $9,000, $19,600 to be in the $45,000 spread. So I've already got my entire fallback position planned. That right now I'm in this position for $10,000, and it's a $30,000 spread as it stands now. But I'm of course not counting what happens over 50. Or I will up that to $19,000, and I'll be in a $45,000 spread. But even at 40, I'd have $30,000, so I'd make a profit. I'd make $10,000 at 40. So I have fallback positions pre-planned for the stock, and I very, very much doubt it's going to fall below 40. So I'm very comfortable with the position. So that I'm very comfortable making this investment now. I've already thought about everything that could happen after this, or everything reasonably. I mean, if they suddenly go bankrupt, if they suddenly get sued again, and then the courts allow it or something like that, who knows? But basically, I'm comfortable with my risk, and I'm comfortable with my reward, and therefore I have no problem at all pulling the trigger. And I know it's, I end up saying, leave this one alone. takes me this much time, at least on every single one, to go through all the different things that I could be doing. And then I just write, leave this one alone. Or let's roll this. That's where that comes from. It comes from all that work that I have to go back and forth and look at different things and figure it out and so on and so forth, not to mention the actual research to say, what's the news on Philip Morris? I go to Seeking Alpha. I honestly think, what the frick? Oh, Seeking.com, silly me. Seeking Alpha. I'm like, see this girl? She's the best market. Anyway, I used to write for Seeking Alpha, but look, a lot of things I don't like about Seeking Alpha, but I like this. You put in Philip Morris, and it's free. Keep that in mind too. You put in Philip Morris, you get the chart, you get some basic information. That's fine. You see the sentiment of people on it, which is nice also. These I don't think that's garbage. But you get to see this. I kind of like, this guy says it's a hold. He says it's a hold. He says it's a buy. He says it's a buy. He says it's a strong buy. He says it's a buy. The same guy. You pay attention to that too. And here's the news. Here's their earnings call. Here's the transcripts. Here's this. So it takes me time, but I'll read through some. Excuse me. I read through some of these things. Dual legal troubles, right? That's what that was a big thing, taking them down. And it turned out that they're not going to be so terrible, probably. So that's where they are. So you can see the trend of the news, what's flowing. You can read these articles. You can read these articles, the last few guys who wrote about it. After a while, if you get to know whether these guys know what they're talking about, don't forget, these are your stocks. Like, you've read them before. This guy makes good points. This guy makes bad points. The same people tend to write about the same stocks over and over again. And that all goes into the decision factor when I finally end up saying, oh, let's roll this, let's not roll this, whatever. Paramount, banging the table again on Paramount. Don't know how many times I will have to say it before it takes off. But here's Paramount. So in this case, we rolled the 40s to the 20s. Okay, and it's still down in the same dumps at around $25. It's crazy to me that it's down here. We spent $8,200 to buy 20,000 more in position. This puts us back in a better position to sell short calls later. The later being, if it ever goes up, I might get some of this money back. So our net outlay on this one is $23,100, but we get 40,000 back at 30. And so we have that much potential. So I said we have 40,000 upside potential at 30. That's my realistic target. So we can make 73% just getting back to 30. If it goes to 40, we're going to make another $40,000. Then we're really talking. And unfortunately, they never get a break. Nothing that they do is good enough. Earnings are, what is it, tomorrow, right? Yeah, tomorrow. So we'll see. That's in every portfolio we have that. SoFi finally getting a little bit of respect. I think they might have just announced. Let's see what they did. Wow, 27%, nice. Yeah, they just announced. So I said it's another new one. It's not doing well out of the gate. We'd only picked them recently. SoFi 523. So we entered this on 523, and we took the 750 1250 spread. All right, so May 23rd, we took the 750 1250 spread, and I sold the $10 puts. So, being super aggressive on the puts, because I said this thing is freaking undervalued. I'm going to sell the $10 puts for a lot of money rather than selling, what did we sell, the 750s? I think we sold the 10s. No, yeah, $10 puts. That's an aggressive sell. But I sold the $10 puts for $5. So all I'm doing is promising to net in for 5. Where are they? So all I'm doing here is promising to net into the stock for $5. I'd rather get $5 for the $10 puts than sell the $7.50 puts for $2.50. I'm just going to make $2.50 more. I strongly felt it was worth a lot more than $7.50. So why would I not sell those puts for $5? Even if it drifted along at $7.50, I'm going to still make $2.50. If it drops to $5, I'm going to break even. And then the rest was the bull call spread that we took. But this is great. It's a $20,000 spread that we went into because of the very aggressive put sale. It's a $1,590 credit on a $20,000 spread. So it has $21,000 of upside potential, $21,590. And that works out to, like I said, we put no money in. We have a 1,357% upside potential. And I said, and we will adjust if they go lower, but I doubt it. Just have to wait for earnings. They were stupidly low priced. And if it wasn't, we have a strategy. We were going to probably go heavy on these guys. I think they're just in an investing cycle. We got interested in them in May, and the reason we got interested in them is because they sold off, right? Because of the student loan thing, because they're very much associated. They lend to they lend all sorts of things to students or young people, and a large part of it became student loan related. Now, if Biden's going to run around forgiving the loans, everybody thinks, oh, SoFi is going to go broke because Biden's going to forgive the loans. That's not how the forgiveness works. He doesn't say, too bad, SoFi, you made the mistake of lending to students. No, if the government forgives the loans, the government's going to pay back the lenders. They won't make the interest they counted on making. But they're not going to lose money. The government's going to pay them back to print the money that they lent. It's as if the student pays it off. It's not like it's so ridiculous. And plus, they have other things that they do. And what SoFi is looking to do, and they just got their bank charter, which is so valuable, because it means that they can go to the discount window at the Fed. So they're a chartered bank. They're going to be able to borrow at lower rates. They have this massive, because they got heavily into the student loans, they have this massive base of customers who are now able to turn to them for other financial service, become customers for life, and eventually they'll be a bank. They'll be a real bank. They're just in the early stages of a massive process to become a major bank, and they're really hitting a chord. Like, they're doing really well. So this was just impatient morons who don't understand what they're investing in. Like I said, if you don't know what you're investing in, you're going to get screwed, because then anybody can float a rumor and confuse you. It's like, how does Biden forgiving student loans cause SoFi to go bankrupt? It doesn't make any sense. It would. I mean, if he said, okay, SoFi, too bad, you don't get to get your money back. You've just lent all that money to people for no reason. That's not what's happening. Yet people are selling student loan people like crazy, student loan lenders like crazy. SunPower, stock of the decade. No wonder I'm running out of voice. It's 2:54. So SunPower, stock of the decade. I said they had a bad second year, bad third year of the decade, but screw that. And I said, we'll wait for earnings to see what it is. The earnings were good. And I said, that last huge spike with Biden getting elected and expectations for solar funding, the huge dip since was the lack of funding from Congress. And as you guys know, we finally started making some progress in the last couple of days, and look what's happening. Okay, this is the last, since last week, we finally made a little bit of progress on the solar bill, and now they're flying. And they just put in an earnings report that was fine. That was great. So we were in good shape with these guys. And here, we put in 975 so far, and it's a $35,000 spread, 25,000 upside potential. And we, I don't, every time I think, see, I say I don't want to look, but I'm going to look. So we have to get to 30. In SunPower, we have to get to 30. And I think that's a very realistic target. Now here's WBA, Yodi's favorite stock. Also very disappointing. I said now, so in this case, we wrote our $15 $40 calls to 30. So we're doubling down, but turning it into a covered spread. Okay, So we're selling those for 6. We're buying these for 15,000, so we're spending $9,000, and then I bought back these for, so now we're spending 10, 10.5, and so 11, whatever. So it's 11.3 of additional spending, but we only spent 4,000 to start, 38.75, right? So now we spent $15,000 on the $30,000 spread, so we have 97% upside potential. All right, and that potential, by the way, is now at $40. So all we have to do now is get to $40, which I don't think is too far away, in 18 months, and we're going to make double. We're going to basically have a double. So I like that trade. I certainly love it from scratch, because from scratch, you're not taking the loss that we took. So of $140,000, if I remember correctly, yeah, of of $140,000 in cash, we spent about a third of it. We spent $57,000, and we added the upside. So now, if not another round of adjustments, but we already have, so we brought our upside potential for the portfolio up to $263,000. And don't forget, it's $200,000 portfolio, right? It's a $200,000 portfolio that has that has 263,000, has 135% upside potential over the next how many months? Over the next 18 months. So almost 10% a month is what we're planning to make. Now, I said, so as new trade ideas, though, we added JP Morgan, okay, and we spent net $120, right? 22. Wait, no, sorry. What? Oh, the upside at 120. Sorry. Okay, we spent $66,000 on a $20,000 spread, so $13,000 more upside, and then we spent $7,500 on Logitech for a $30,000 spread, and that has 300% upside potential. So now we've added 22 plus 13 is 25, 35, and about $35,000 more dollars to the 263. So now we've got basically $300,000 of upside potential in this portfolio, and it was 200,000. So now we have 150%. We're getting closer to 10% per month upside potential. So if this portfolio is on track, it's going to make 10% per month. And we just went over every single position. All right. And in a nutshell, because this is a 2-hour thing, right? We just did this in less than 2 hours, and I did a lot of the work that I usually do. Not all of it, but that's, I'm giving you an idea of like the kind of work we do on these things. That's it. This is the job of investing. If you're going to invest, you got to take it seriously, and you've got to go through it like this. This only took a couple of hours. You got to be able to spend a day per month on your positions, going over them and making sure every single thing you thought is happening is going to happen. And if it's not, you've got to start thinking, you've got to redo your chess game and start thinking about what moves you should be making and what changes you should be making to get back in position. And a lot of times you've got to know when to fold it. That's a Willie Nelson thing. You know when to hold them, know when to fold it. You've got to let go of things that aren't working anymore. You've got to know what your premise was. And this is why I started keeping a blog in the first place. I started keeping a trading blog because I realized it was important to keep track of what I was thinking when I went into the trade. Couldn't remember. Why am I in IBM? What did I think was going to happen? This is so great because by doing this kind of stuff, I say, oh, okay, JP Morgan has $150 billion of unencumbered cash. They are valued at $331 billion at 112, but they make $33 billion. That's the 10 times valuation, and they've got half of their valuation as cash. So I said they report tomorrow, so let's buy them now. They report tomorrow. That's weird. I don't think they did report. That seems too early. July 14th? Maybe. Yeah, they are one of the earliest reporters. That's true. Okay, I didn't want to miss it. So this is you know, we were pre-earnings, post-earnings. They're actually kind of just struggling along. They were, what I say, they were at 112, right? So they were at 112. Now they're at 113. They're not going anywhere, but they were fine. Earnings were fine. I believe in them, and over the next 18 months, I think they can make 120. And if they make 120, we make 226 back on our money. And what's our worst case scenario? We own 500 shares of JP Morgan at $90. That's our worst case scenario. 96 really. I'm sorry, 102. I'm sorry, it'd really be 102, assuming we lose all that. But as you see, though, that's not really the point because we're going to adjust. This is a worst case. That means I squander the 6,000 value that's in it now, and we just take the loss and get assigned. None of that's going to happen. You know, that's like going back to the chessboard and saying, well, my plan is to stand there like an idiot, not make any moves, and let my opponent run all over me. No, that's not how you play chess. And it's not how you trade options. You can do better. That's what we teach you. We teach you those moves. You've got to learn the moves. Otherwise, don't play the game, please. All right. So Logitech was the same kind of thing. And again, it's computer peripherals. You know, Logitech keyboards, mice, things like that. It's crap that you buy without thinking about it when you're at the checkout counter at Best Buy. You need some accessories. You buy your accessories. It's a normal thing that people all over the world do every day. How many people do you know who have mice on their laptops, external mice, right? That's Logitech mostly. You know, external cameras and things like that is Logitech. New keyboard, when you need a new keyboard, Logitech. You know, that it's just bullshit crap that has incredibly high markups. And you know, they had a spike because of COVID, because everybody working at home went out and bought a whole bunch of stuff for their computers. Then they had a lull because everybody already bought the stuff they bought for their computers. But now they go back to a normal, you know, the normal kind of business they do, which is very, very profitable. It's a very profitable little business that these guys have, and they don't have really any competition. Nothing very scary. And so I said, and they have 1.3 billion in cash. They made so much money here, they accidentally ended up with 1.3 billion in cash. They're only an $8.9 billion market company. So 15% of the company is cash. And they make 800 million a year. Again, they're 10 times earnings or 11 times earnings. So I'm like, why would I not buy this at this price? I could care less about Logitech around here. I could care less about them back here either. Well, here we missed a lot of things. We couldn't buy everything. But you know, when Logitech is trading their normal price around $80, I don't care about Logitech at $80. That's not exciting to me. They're trading at 15, 16, 20 times earnings. I'm like, why would I buy that? It's just it's a little bullshit computer company. There's no growth in it. But when they're trading way under where they should be, and there's no negative growth, I don't see why people are going to stop using computer peripherals. I believe that the same, you know, what's the logic? Do they have any real competition? They have some competitors, but nothing like a major thing. It's like a Coke and Pepsi. There's going to be Coke, there's going to be Pepsi, there's going to be Dr. Pepper. It's basically where it is. That business is pretty much settled. It's not likely at all that some major competitor is suddenly going to break into the computer peripheral business because it's so freaking exciting. It's not. You know, it's just they're just providing a basic service to basic people. It's like Big Pens. You don't think Big Pens is going to suddenly get wiped out by a new competitor. So they're at a point where they're just way, way below anything that I could expect damage to cause them to not make money. And that's exciting. That then becomes exciting because then we can turn that into a trade where all we needed to do is get to, in fact, we took the 40-55 spread. So all I said was it's going to hold 55. It was 52.39. I said it's going to get back from 52.39 to 55. And it's the same thing for the IBM trade of the year, right? This is the same logic. I'd rather spend the big bucks. We spent $7,500 on a $30,000 spread that was in the money with 300% upside potential if they hold 55. It's like, how easy is that? They're just handing out cash. You got to take it when they're handing it out like that. All right, and then I talked about 10 other stocks I like. So this is a valuable post. I mean, holy crap. So Levi's, love them. Crocs, crazy low. Williams Sonoma, it's an expensive stock, but freaking great value. RH, also expensive stock, great value, growth potential here. Best Buy, and I said winter is coming. I'm talking about the fourth quarter when they make all their money. Been a while, right? Been a while since you went to Best Buy and got a new computer. Been a while for everybody. Been a while since anybody went out. I mean, yeah, you buy computers online and stuff like that, but don't you kind of like go to Best Buy and see what there is and buy things there? And then they talk into the service contract and so on and so forth. So I like Best Buy. Yeah, Trox was another. These both went out as top trade alerts already. Netflix, again, way overdone with the fear of Netflix going down. Ford, again, Ford is now being upgraded. Everybody realizes what a mistake it was to let them get that cheap. How are they looking? Yeah, see. Sony, crazy low. Did anyone wake up on that one yet? Sony. Now, Sony, like Paramount, though, all these guys who are studios are getting killed, right? Sony's still low. Big Lots. Now, I like Big Lots because Big Lots, my big premise on Big Lots is that when you read that Walmart and Target have imbalances of their inventories and that they're losing money because they're writing stuff off, what does writing stuff off mean? It means they're dumping it on the wholesale market. Instead of it taking up space in their stores because it's not moving, they write it off at a loss and they dump it for whatever they can get for it on the wholesale market. They take the loss. Walmart and Target take the loss, sell the inventory to who? To Big Lots. That's what they do. They buy this crap. They buy it. So now they bought it from Walmart or Target for less money than they could buy it from if they imported it themselves. So because those guys misbought, and now they're going to buy it at a bargain. Now, obviously, Walmart and Target are writing it down because people didn't want it, but people didn't want it at the price that they were selling it for, which is a price where they need to make a profit. So Walmart and Target, they need to make some profit when they sell the thing usually. I mean, they could sometimes they mark things down in the store and sell it out of the store, but that's a different problem. But when they decided that the demand is not there for the products that they have at the prices that they have them for, they say it's easier to clear the shelves and put something else in that will sell and make money. So when that happens, Big Lots steps in and says, we'll take it, and they take it, and now they've got, let's say it's 50,000 T-shirts. That said, whatever. I mean, you go to Big Lots, but you literally buy like a Happy New Year 2022 T-shirt, in Big Lots for like $3 because it's already 2022. You missed it. It's still a T-shirt though. You might want to wear it. So they'll buy 50,000, 500,000, whatever the number is, T-shirts, and they'll buy it for $2 and they'll sell it for $3. For them, it's $1. They don't care. And for the consumer who would never have gone into Target to buy a Happy New Year 2022 T-shirt, even if they marked it down to $3, it just wouldn't be what you're going to Target for. At Big Lots, people are like, oh, T-shirt. They get it. They get the concept. Yeah, it's not current. It doesn't work. Same thing goes for furniture. Whatever they have at Big Lots, that's the logic, though. They're just taking things people didn't want, wouldn't probably buy at the store where it was supposed to be. But now it's a Big Lots. That's what you went there for. You went there to buy. You went there to buy stuff that's really cheap, but obviously has some flaws that you can see, but you're there prepared for that. You're accepting that there. You're not looking compared to other great stuff that you could buy. You're looking compared to other flawed items and other things that were last year's model, are terrible colors, this or that. Whatever the problem is, it found a home at Big Lots and people come in and buy it. So in other words, what we have now is an inventory opportunity for Big Lots. Metal Steel, I love them. That's a retirement stock. That's just silly. I think they got a little bit of recognition. Yeah, a little bit. Logitech, as I said, we picked that one. Disney should be proving themselves shortly with the earnings. Disney, oh, running late. Oh, already taking off seats. You gotta get on these things. IMAX, love IMAX. They're still pretty cheap. We looked at them recently. THC, forget it. This is sad. We actually with the top trade, so it's good. We picked it right before it did this. But look at that. So they're like 20-something% since we picked it. And anyway, and that's it. That's simply what we do. That's how we evaluate things. That's how we pick things. That's how we verify what we have, all in one post. And what post was it? It was in the Money Talk section of our site. It says right there, BNN Money Talk. If it comes back, here it comes. So when you're in Money Talk, it was actually the portfolio review, and then afterwards you can see, in fact, if you want to look, this is the actual appearance of on TV. So you can see me talking to Kim, and you can see Kim telling me how optimistic I am about the markets. And the look on my face when she said it, I was just like, oh, I was going to say something. I'm like, I was just like taken aback by the whole thing. Like, are you kidding me? It's like, this is optimistic. I'm like, I'm just buying bargains. I'm buying stocks that are trading at 10 times earnings, for God's sake. How is that optimistic? You know, it's like, it's like if I'm a scientist and I say it's 40 degrees out, ice is going to melt. That's essentially what I was saying on the show. Okay, it's 40 degrees out, ice is going to melt. And she's like, gosh, you're an optimist about the weather. I'm like, it's a fact. It's not optimism. It's just, this is the price at which I buy things. These are the stocks which I buy at this price because these are the bottoms. This is what I would call a bottom for these stocks. I was wrong on 0 of them. So anyway, I think that really bothered me that she said that. I'm like, it's not optimism. But I was going to start arguing with her since it was right at the end of the interview too. So I was like, this is not a good time to start having this discussion. But holy crap! All right, have to wrap it up. That's way over time. Not supposed to do that. Hope everybody's good, and we will do this again next week. All right, thanks for coming, everybody. Appreciate it. Take care.